So after a few weeks of practice, what are your thoughts on just your guys, your specialists, and what you've seen so far?
A lot of learning for me, a lot of learning about the guys, who they are, a lot of learning for them too, because they went through winter football school, and some of the stuff was different, some of the terms were slightly different. So they're doing a great job picking up and going. Have been very pleased with the specialists and the core guys that have been doing drills and learning the 6 phases. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of work, and those guys are doing a great job.
Who are the core guys, and what makes those guys core guys?
Yeah, right now, not to sidestep that question, everybody's a core guy. Just because they're all learning the new stuff. When we get closer and closer to game day in the fall, it's really your core guys are the guys that are maybe not necessarily, and when I say core guys, playing on all 4 phases. So being able to play on all 4 phases. So maybe it's not a guy that's a starter on offense and defense. We'll definitely use offensive and defensive starters, maybe 1 or 2 phases. But those core guys are not necessarily starters on offense or defense, but they're very close on their side of the ball, and they're playing their butt off on special teams. Big, fast, smart, dependable. Those guys that you can trust in all 4 phases on Saturday.
Did you and Coach Beamer talk yesterday about the possibility of Nefgiwa blocking field goals for you guys this upcoming season?
I've heard that he's above average in height, so I think that will be an advantage. No, I mean, I'm excited. I have used offensive linemen in the past on field goal block, especially if they're willing and aggressive to get penetration, and long arms are always a pain in the butt for the kick team for sure.
I would imagine there are probably live situations for the place kickers most practices. Is that a safe assumption, or is it
live, like 11 on 11? They're getting kicks.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Trying to do it as much as possible without making them kick every single day.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to get as many reps as possible.
And I would imagine you're probably not going to reveal who's doing the best at this point, but how you, or if you want to, please feel free. How do you feel like those have gone for you guys?
I think they've gone real well. It was, and this is, the guys don't like me saying this, but Saturday was windy, and for 8 years in Buffalo, I dealt with the wind all the time. And so they did a good job of dealing with the wind, both place kickers and Max kicking kickoffs on Saturday. And what I told them is you can't replicate that. So it's really windy on Saturday. Most people probably didn't even really notice. But if you're a place kicker, you notice right out the gate. And both those guys handled it well. And I said, you got experience. One or 2 or 3 of our games in the fall, there's going to be wind, and we got a chance to rep it on Saturday. And I was happy with how those guys responded.
So I think what you said, Max is the primary kickoff guy at this point, or is there anyone else who's?
The other guys are working it as well. So, I mean, Max did a great job last year. He's done great so far in spring. I don't think there's anybody right now anywhere on the team that's the starter going into the fall. Everybody's getting reps and working it, but he's done good in the spring, and he obviously, as you guys know, did a good job last fall.
And with Mason, I would imagine punting, obviously, and holding on field goals are probably his primary responsibilities.
Those are definitely his primaries. We've gotten him a little bit of place kicking as well. He's been working that. Been very pleased with. He got 2 on this Saturday. Again, with the wind, his only opportunities were sky kicks, kicks where you're trying to pin him inside the 10, and he only had 2 reps, and both reps were outstanding. So that was good to see him rise to the occasion with it being windy and still being able to control the ball. And yeah, he's been outstanding as a holder.
Are there any technical aspects you've been able to bring to your guys that have helped them these last couple months?
Yes. It was hard for me not to be a smart aleck on that question, but no. My answer is I hope so. No, it's been fun working with those guys, and I think every coach even if some of the technique is similar, maybe says it a little bit different way, and it's getting to know those specialists. My philosophy always with specialists has been, let's figure out how to speak the same language. And it's not necessarily my language when it comes to specialists. What do you see? And so there's been a lot of time spent on the grass together in the indoor and then watching film together. Not, hey, you need to do A to B to C, but let's look at your approach here. What do you see? How it looks like this plant's a little bit deeper or a little bit shallow. How does that affect your hips? Just getting to know one another, getting to speak the same language. So that's been very helpful. And then I think the more you can get to know your specialists, the more you can get involved with the mental side of it too. Because with those guys, we know that's a big part of it, where they're just trying to do a very hard task at a very high repetitive rate, so they can do the same thing every single time. Easier said than done. So what's the mental going into this rep? That kick, good or bad, what are we learning from it?
I wouldn't imagine there's a maximum number, but when you come out of preseason camp in August, is there a minimum number of core guys that you'd like to feel comfortable with going into the year?
Yeah, I think it's the more the merrier on that one, because I'm not the depth charts, and with Coach Beamer's help, obviously, the depth charts will sort themselves out. But the more guys that you're comfortable with, even if they're not a 4-core guy, maybe they're not one of the best 11 on one of the phases, but we know how the season goes. Somebody breaks a shoelace and you got to throw them in. Somebody misses a week with a minor injury. Have you been training guys up so they're confident to step in on that phase? So for me, there is no minimum, and I'm shooting for the highest maximum that we can get going into the season.
And I guess got to show the long snappers some love a little bit. You've got 3 of those guys who I guess are trying to sort themselves out. What do you see from those guys? And I guess none of them really have much experience.
Yeah. Emmett has experience transferring in. He does have Saturday afternoon experience, but all 3 of those guys, they've all been getting reps. They're all working hard. And really through the course of the spring, my goal during spring is let them all get just about equal reps so they can keep learning, keep competing, keep fighting for that job, and then we'll see how it sorts out in the fall.
I think when you were in Buffalo, you had a couple guys who kind of transitioned from other countries who had rugby backgrounds. What was that experience like, and how is that transition in your eyes for Neff coming up?
Yeah, I always liked working with those guys as a special teams coach, because their movement skills are so good and so well developed. The other thing, and probably not for every position, especially in this case, but they also can kick the ball, because that's what they handle the ball, they kick the ball. So there's a lot of times smaller guys, like your linebacker, your running back, worked with a running back that came over, was a high-level rugby player. They can all kick the ball. So an emergency guy, a service guy, they're comfortable doing that. So that's always fun as a special teams coach. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.